Oh my God, the baby reveal? That's crazy. She has a baby in a stroller, bro, while she's doing that. That is absolutely nutty. This response is not by any metric a normal response. We'll start off with some really cool Zionist versus Neturei Karta clips. I'm gonna go pee real quick. I talked about the Young Thug trial yesterday. You missed it.
Zionism is a political movement which is causing bloodshed. That's where our family is from. I'm from Israel. How can you hold that flag? This is because the actions of the Zionist people, they are responsible for the bloodshed. That's where our ancestors. We lived in a beautiful peace. What flag is that? How can you say that? You're a Jew. We lived in a beautiful peace with Palestinian people for hundreds of years. How can you say that? You're not a Jew. You're not a Jew. How dare you? When Zionism came in, they caused their bloodshed. They caused rivers of bloodshed. How can you say that? You're Jewish. How can you shame your own people? Who is a Jew? We're Jews. This is our people.
We're all Jews here.
He was against Judaism.
We're all Jews here.
Yeah, so how are they saying that?
Because they believe in God.
Jewish, I'm standing it.
I don't want that.
That's our country.
And the Talmud says it's not our country like that.
That is our country. How dare you say that about our own people? What's wrong with you? Fuck
That's so funny. It's awesome. How my therapist acted when I brought up Palestine? No way. I'm gonna run it back.
This is because the actions of the Zionist people, they are responsible for the bloodshed. That's where our ancestors. We lived in a beautiful peace. What flag is that? How can you say that? You're a Jew. We lived in a beautiful peace with Palestinian people for hundreds of years. How can you say that? You're not a Jew. You're not a Jew. How dare you?
Bro, I'm sorry, but like getting this worked up because someone is saying Palestinians are people that deserve emancipation means that this is a sick society, okay? Means that like being pro-Israel is just doing something to your mind, okay? And this is like this is what I mean when we talk. There's two different forms of propaganda occurring right now, okay? On the ultra-Zionist side, the hyper right-wing nationalists, they're going with the narrative that every single Gazan civilian is actually Hamas. They participated in October 7, so they all must be killed. On the liberal Zionism side, you're hearing a lot of commentary about like, let's get the conversation back to anti-Semitism in leftist spaces, whether it be AOC talking to those ladies the other day, or even these, I was listening to, what's the podcast? Hold on. I'm gonna tell you right now. I was listening to it this morning. Today Explained. I think it was Today Explained that had an episode specifically on anti-Semitism, like what it means, where it's coming from, and they actually had like a much better person than the person AOC had. Today Explained had at least what's her face, a very like a pretty decent person to talk about it. Hold on, I'm just like on this. 1 second. Let me just see if I can. How do I just find the show? God damn it. Oh, here it is. Was that anti-Semitic? That was a day ago. They had Rabbi Jill Jacobs on alongside Harvard law professor Noah Feldman. Okay. And that conversation was infinitely more. That conversation on was that anti-Semitic on Today Explained was infinitely more open-minded than the conversation that AOC was having. Yeah, no. Rabbi, hold on. Yeah, no. Rabbi Jill Jacobs. I think this is the rabbi. Hold on. I'm pretty sure Rabbi Jill Jacobs is. Wait, never mind. I'm thinking of someone else. I think Rabbi Jill Jacobs seemingly was way more open-minded to the conversations specifically about anti-Zionism, and yet it still ultimately looped back around to like many anti-Zionist conversations actually take Jews out of the equation because all Jews are technically Zionists, or so many Jews have some connection to Israel. That is the line I hear a lot from liberal Zionists, and this is also a conversation that many in my community have also asked as well. And it's like, Hasan, a lot of people also still believe that there should be a Jewish ethno-state. There should be a Jewish ethno-state, a state for the Jews. And how do you, like, these people are very progressive. How do you have this conversation with someone who is like otherwise progressive and wants a homeland for the Jews? And then, you know, you tie it back to the Holocaust and the many pogroms, the centuries of pogroms that Jews have withstood, and how there has to be something because there are very real fears, right? And these are two different sides of the equation. You got the Jerusalem Post also going along with what we just talked about, hitting the insane, like all civilians are fair play. And then you have liberal Zionists in the West talking about how anti-Semitism in leftist spaces is becoming a real clear and present danger. Now, the problem with this issue, the problem with the liberal Zionist aspect of it is that it ultimately is still Zionist. And the unfortunate reality is that, like, whether what you want to believe what Zionism is and what Zionism actually is are at odds. Okay. And if you are otherwise a progressive person, you can't, unfortunately, you can't maintain this belief that, you know, there has to be a ethno-state. There has to be a Jewish ethno-state in this region built on top of, you know, indigenous homelands of the Palestinian population. That is always going to be violent. There is no non-violent, peaceful, non-confrontational way of creating this ethno-state and maintaining it, right? And that's an issue. The unfortunate reality of the matter is, no matter how progressive you are, if you still have this hang up born out of so much social conditioning from birth early on, you know, and if you can't overcome this hang up, if you can't, like, reconstruct the way that you understand Israel, reconstruct your allegiances that you might have to Israel, and also re-examine your relationship with Israel, ultimately, you're still in the defense of, ultimately, you are still engaging in some way, shape, or form of the defense of a otherwise ethno-nationalist supremacist ideology, okay? And that's important to address. Not every flavor of Zionism is the same, obviously. But having said that, even if you have liberal Zionist friends, this is something that you should try to communicate to them in the kindest ways possible, which is that ultimately liberalism or progressivism and Zionism are at odds with one another because Zionism is an ethno-nationalist project. That's something to consider. Letter to the New York Times on Palestine, 1948. The undersigned therefore take this means of publicly presenting a few salient facts concerning Bain and his party and urging the concern not to support this latest manifestation. It's the Einstein letter you're talking about. Yeah. Albert Einstein's letter to the New York Times, December 4th, 1948, New Palestine Party visited Menachem Begin and the aims of the political movement discussed. The way I see it, and I'm not very successful at having this conversation with my Jewish Zionist friends. Basically, the way I see it is, Israel is currently a singular, solitary state. It is a state that also happens to occupy a 5 million strong Palestinian population, both in the West Bank and in Gaza, that has displaced another 10 million all around the world. 10 million Palestinians all around the world. This in and of itself is unacceptable. That's why I always talk about how there is one state currently. It's just the state of Israel, and it is an apartheid state. I think that's why the term apartheid is a complicated one that liberal Zionists refuse to reckon with. That is why I always ask the question, do you believe Israel is an apartheid? Or do you disagree with the 18 human rights organizations internationally, including Israeli human rights organizations, that have correctly pointed out exactly why Israel is an apartheid state? Ultimately, you think that Israel would have conceded apartheid in order to combat claims of genocide, but no. They would never concede that, because if you concede that it's an apartheid state, everyone in the Western world understands that that's bad. But anyway, let's get back to the hysterics, though. The reason why I'm showing you this is that this person is probably not a liberal Zionist, okay? But the hysteria stems from the same place. And at a certain point, especially when 76 years of wrong has been committed, okay, you have to kind of take a deep breath and go, look, I can't have this conversation on what you suspect will happen to you. Okay, does that make sense? I can't argue with you because you are not arguing on facts. You are arguing on what you feel may happen to you, and there's not really an apt way of arguing against someone's firmly held convictions that are born out of, unfortunately, reactionary opinions towards Arabs, Muslims, Palestinians across the board.
How can you say that you're Jewish? How can you shame your own people? Who is a Jew? We're Jews. It's our people.
We're all Jews here.
He was against Judaism.
We're all Jews here.
Yeah, so how are they saying that?
Because they believe in God.
Jewish, I'm standing it.
I don't want that.
That's our country.
And the Talmud says it's not our country like that.
That is our country. How dare you say that about our own people? What's wrong with you?
Oh my God, the baby reveal? That's crazy. She has a baby in a stroller, bro, while she's doing that. That is absolutely nutty. I think she's actually misinformed and not mentally ill. I mean, I think given that Zionism is a dehumanizing ideology that is about dominating the outgroup of Palestinians, inherently fascist, ethno-nationalist, the more you sip on that Kool-Aid, the more belligerent and unhinged you will become. So I would say that, no, she is definitely out of her mind. This response is not by any metric a normal response. Look at this.
Say that about our own people.
She's a right-wing actor. Update, not only is she not from Israel, she's from Mamaroneck, but also nailed it, a right-wing wannabe actor. Says gender transitioning is downright Satanism, and Bill Maher is the only liberal I know with common sense. This woman goes from you're not a Jew to Orthodox Jews to how can you shame your own people, while having quite the screechy little meltdown over her own chosen ignorance. Also claims she's from the Middle East and tries assaulting people. Solid acting. Yeah, I think it's like the fact that she was doing all while she had a baby in a stroller is crazy. Watch the full episode on Rumble on my sleepers in New York City channel. Episode 3, part 2, gender affirming care in minors. Mama Ronek is the baby an actor. The husband was showing off the Israeli passport. I don't know if that was her husband. I feel like that was a gay man chatter. I don't think this guy was the husband in the equation. I mean, come on. Yeah, no. You are being homophobic. That's her work husband. Bro, he's wearing a Madonna shirt and being kind of zesty with it. It's just two markers of a person who I don't suspect is straight. Not that it matters in this situation. Zionist trying to take back watermelon and keys.
Pardon? The watermelon originates from Israel.
Yeah, it does. Not in the way that you think it does, though. It originates from Israel because Palestinians were not allowed to promote their colors. So that was in a way, Israel did play a role in that. You know what I mean? Bro, imagine watching bro, this is akin to Northern Line being like, at the top of the hour, as you guys know, I serve a 3-minute ad break and no one else does this. Okay. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. It's like, no, that's my thing, bro. Get the out of here. Get your own thing. This is mine.
Pardon?
The watermelon originates from Israel and they're trying to take it as their own. So that's why we're bringing it back to where it belongs.
Are you aware that they use a symbol as well?
Yes, they use it as a hate symbol. We always use our symbols as love symbols.
So the key, what does it mean? The key represents the key to my grandmother's house in Algeria and my grandparents' house in Egypt.
That's insane. Dude, come on, bro. Then go live in Algeria, bro. What? Okay, then yeah, go back to Egypt or Algeria. Like, what do you mean? You can't be repping the Israeli flag while being like, oh, I'm being like, I promise you, we could literally put together a deal that allows a reverse, a reverse migration, 1,000,000%. That's crazy. The key thing is like, wow, dude. The key thing is extra up. For those of you who don't know, keys are very symbolically important for the Palestinians as a symbol of resistance, as a consequence of the fact that all the Palestinians during the Nakba that were forcibly removed from their homes brought their keys with them, brought their belongings with them, because they obviously thought they would return once the purges were done. Many of them still keep their keys with them. The key is a symbol of the right to return. The fact that this dude is being like, yeah, my grandparents' house in Egypt and Algeria, it's like, okay, well then that's fine. You are allowed to go back. You can do that. This is not a thing that Israel, however, allows. Okay? That's what's crazy. Palestinians can't return to their homes. You could. You literally could. You could today. You would never do it because you don't want to live around these dirty Arabs, but you could do that if you wanted to do so. Also, the blue and white watermelon is extra funny because, you know, I feel like that's rotting. Since when? What do you mean, since when? I don't think you understand a fundamental concept here. Many people, as long as they abide by the immigration rules and standards, have the capacity to travel to these countries, have the capacity to live in these countries, especially countries like Egypt and Algeria. Okay? Palestinians, on the other hand, do not have that capacity. Weren't they expelled? Great question. Some were under very different conditions. Having said that, however, they do have the right to return if they would like to do so. That's the difference. There is no way of returning for the Palestinians, though, because the reality of the matter is 1948, the Nakba, okay? If the Palestinians were allowed to return back to their homes in the aftermath and weren't shot by the formations of the beginnings of the IDF, weren't shot by actual soldiers that were armed, okay, then this wouldn't be as big as a problem. But of course, Israel wouldn't be the Israel that you know today if that was the case. I like when a chatter says, since when? And then I respond to them and they go, I know. Okay, why did you ask then? That makes no dang sense.
Egypt. And it represents the houses and businesses who was taken from Jewish people while they were forced to leave Arab nations, Muslim countries, Egypt, Iraq, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia. What are these keys?
This is the difference. Israeli Jews that originate from any number of these countries and in certain circumstances, they were expelled, for the record. That is true. Could still go back to those countries now. Palestinians, on the other hand, cannot. This is very important. And the reason for, and that, by the way, is precisely the reason why this is just simply a talking point. Okay? It is simply a talking point because it's not like he wants to go back. He loves being in Israel. He loves defending Israel. They're not, I don't even think they're in Israel here. I don't know where this protest is taking place. Okay? It is not exactly a similar situation at all. Is that even Israel? Yes, thought so too. No, it's not. It's London, I think.
Representing. And if the Palestinian wants to play the get out of jail ticket with us, telling us go back to Europe, I didn't come from Europe. My house is in Algeria.
Then go back to Algeria. What you can do that. Like, I don't understand. But you're in Europe right now. So what's happening? Isn't he in Europe right now? What's going on?
You want to give me back my businesses? My grandfather had a cafe there, a very successful one. My grandmother had a shoe factory. I want their businesses also.
So are you aware they also use it as a symbol?
Yes.
What does it mean to...
They try to say that this represents their grandmother keys to a house in Jaffa or in Nazareth or wherever they come from. In reality, it's bogus. In real life, you don't start a war, lose, and then say, okay, let's pretend it didn't happen.
Bro, what the... Dude, this man is of Algerian descent. That is insane. The Algerian nationalist movement had smoke only for collaborators of the French. What are you talking about? And even then, you can still go back. Even if your grandfather potentially collaborated with the French, and that's why you escaped to France, okay, instead of your countrymen in their understandable and moral battle against a colonial state, you could still go back. The notion that, like, he's claiming this was a war that the Arabs started and, you know, they lost, it sucks to suck, while simultaneously being of Algerian descent is hilarious.
You know, it's just one of those things.
And then the watermelon as well. The watermelon, I haven't seen it before here.
Yeah.
Is this new?
Yeah, that's something summer is coming, and in Israel, the watermelon is a staple. I mean, you don't go to summer in Israel without watermelons. I'm not sure why they think that watermelon represents them.
Do you know why they use it?
Well, I heard some stories, some folklore from the 60s about this is all Soviet propaganda. But okay.
Bro, he hit every marker, dude. I love this shit. He hit every marker. He's like anti-communist. He hit Monty.
We just love watermelon. And watermelon is just a watermelon, mate. People want to have fun. People want to enjoy. You're not going to prohibit us from eating watermelons. You know, it's silly.
I don't think they're trying.
Yeah, what? You just made that up. So he's holding keys for homes business for checks notes in Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, and he's complaining about Palestinians have keys to homes in Jaffa, Nazareth, towns located in Palestine. In my opinion, like, every case of Arab states is different in Algeria's case. I mean, they had just cause for doing what they did. He pointed his finger at the wrong Arab state. No, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense for him to say this, because he could literally tomorrow go back to Algeria. Okay, he could do that. He could go to Algeria. Palestinians cannot go to Palestine. Okay, Palestinians cannot return to their ancestral homes. He could. So he's making up a problem for himself to create a false equivalence and create an environment of perceived victimhood. Yeah. The significance of watermelon was used when Israel banned the Palestinian flag from being used. So the Palestinians used the colors, watermelon having red, white, green, and black. Yeah, I know, the racist white woman. We'll get to that in a second. We'll do that in a little bit. All right.